Hello, hello. Welcome to Meditation Nerd. Glad you're here. I hope you're doing well. So I actually kind of wanted to just chat a little bit this evening about, well, liminal spaces. This first came up when I was listening to a creator's bit about liminal spaces, and it's kind of echoed in my head since. I've been reading several things having to do with mindfulness. I did share some of what I read, some of my notes from trauma sensitive mindfulness, such as the window of tolerance. Um, the need for us to have awareness of what our boundaries are so that we're not re traumatizing ourselves, we're not pushing beyond what is healthy for us to be pushing towards, right? There is a healthy way to grow, and then there's an unhealthy way to grow. Okay, I had something completely different, and that's not where the thought went. Since then, I've been building on different blind spots. I read McMindfulness. I'm currently reading Handbook of Mindfulness, which are basically articles. Some are critiques, some are in defense of, which I find very helpful. I like the discussion around the different perspectives on mindfulness. And all of this has me in the liminal space of what am I doing here? What what is this channel actually doing? How is it helping? Are any of the pieces that I put together that I find beneficial that have helped my own practice grow, are they beneficial? Are they helping? Couple things that I wanted to share with you from McMindfulness by Ronald Purser specifically were, and these are largely what stopped me and got me to sit with my practice on an individual level. Um, so part of this being anything that offers success in our unjust society without trying to change it is not revolutionary. It's just helping us cope. That fortunately, when I sat with that with my own individual personal practice, that fortunately for me is not where my practice has taken me. I was very aware of the systems that I was in. Now, this does not mean that it cleared all blind spots. I don't mean to say that other aspects of my life were just instantly brightened. That wasn't necessarily true. That took more growth to see those other blind spots. Coming back to make mindfulness. However, it could also be making things worse. Instead of encouraging radical action, it says the causes of suffering are disproportionately inside us, not in the political and economic frameworks that shape how we live. And then building on that, the fundamental message of the corporate mindfulness movement is the underlying cause of dissatisfaction and distress is in our heads. Now, these are not, the first one was a direct quote from McMindfulness. The second bit about the corporate mindfulness aspect, that's more of a paraphrasing. Um, and I use these as a way to sit with my own practice and go, okay, hold on just a second. Am I using this as a way to simply cope with what's happening? The answer for my practice is thankfully no in large portions. Now, the blind spots are becoming more clear, so I'm reading more as far as those areas are concerned, and I'm looking at different ways to adapt my meditative practice to step into those as well. I'm going to do separate videos on those as those different aspects become a little bit more clearer. They will be uncomfortable, those practices, the topic and the practices themselves. So just as a heads up, I'll speak more to those later. They're still kind of forming as I'm reading new books and different perspectives. Um, and a lot of what McMindfulness or what Ronald Purser was talking about in McMindfulness is part of what turned me off to the wellness industry to begin with. A lot of the meditations, I would run into these walls that I thought were personal, right? Where it's most of the circles that I was running into, and I hope this has shifted since then. When I first started, a lot of the circles, they weren't talking about the the struggles that a lot of people end up having, right? Sometimes your anxiety can go through. Notice the anger that you've been carrying the entire time, and there's really no structure there to step in and go, okay, so here's kind of a list. It's a vague outline, right? You could very well see your anger rise. It isn't necessarily that your anger is rising, it's that you're more aware of the anger that you're actually carrying that you've just been walking around with. Um, too intense of a practice, it could be due to now you're aware of all of the anxiety that you're actually walking around with, right? So there are varying issues here. Now, this could also be trauma centered, right? You could be pushing too far too fast and you're just re traumatizing yourself because you're pushing outside of your window of tolerance. So there are a lot of different aspects to this that aren't really, let me rephrase that, weren't really openly discussed, as if simply speaking about these other aspects is somehow diminishing the practice. I completely disagree with that. I don't think that it's going to diminish your practice. I feel like it empowers you to understand, okay, first up, here are some potential things that you could run into. It isn't just all bliss and rainbows, right? It's not just all peace and light. There's real struggle that you're going to step into. That's the point of meditation. You're facing the reality that you're walking around with daily. Um, so when I started to find more of the teachers that spoke to this, I felt reassured and it built trust, because it feels more like you're hiding something if you're not open about the challenges that could arise. Because again, I don't know of anything that I've ever done in my life where a challenge didn't arise of some form. And this isn't labeling positive or negative, it's simply stating that challenge is part of it, right? You learn a new skill, it's challenging. You learn a new language, it's challenging. You do basically anything, there's going to be some type of challenge. So these were some of the aspects that I noticed that really felt disconnected. It felt disingenuous and inauthentic. That why are you hiding this? These seem pretty standard. Um, so with these questions, I'm allowing myself to sit with this material. Part of why I didn't really talk about my notes with McMindfulness yet. I wanted to integrate, I wanted to sit with it, I wanted it to stir up whatever it needed to. And that's also partly why I have come back to mantra focused or Sudarshan Chakra Kriya, or, there will be certain meditations that I return to, Kundalini yoga meditation specifically, because these are my foundations. These are the meditations that help me every single time there's a shift inward, there's integration that needs to happen that I'm not entirely sure how to allow with ease, or if I just need to anchor. These are what I reach for: mantra, mudra, and Kundalini yoga meditations. That includes kriyas. I'm still doing my own personal workouts. That's just separate. I obviously can't work out with this this avatar. Otherwise, I would share those as well. It's not quite that good of a tracker, the avatar. So that part I don't include. It's just I wanted to kind of clarify a couple of points and also share this part of my process with integration, shifting, and just the unraveling that happens from time to time, at least in my own practice. So please feel free to share if this isn't common for you or if you haven't experienced this before, because probably help someone else, right? Especially if no one, there are a few other people that are like, I don't know how to relate to what she's talking about. Am I doing it wrong? You're not. It's just a different, your meditative practice is just expressing differently, and that's perfectly fine. Um, I do feel like I said that, like I said earlier, with other aspects of meditation, this part is normal for me. The liminal spaces are normal for me within my practice. There have been several shifts like this that I've had, and there's a lot of vulnerability that I feel within this space. I start to question a lot of different aspects of what I'm doing. And for me, that's normal. For me, that's healthy. Asking critical questions. Okay, is this still needed? Am I still following a meditative practice that's elevating, or am I hiding? Am I bypassing? Am I numbing out? That type of thing. That to me is healthy. It's normal. I want to keep asking those questions. These check ins for me are grounding. So, there this obviously is going to be reflected in the channel because what I'm offering is, it matters, right? It's an extension of my own practice. These are, I'm sharing exactly what my own practice does, how it looks, how I shift and change and see how different parts of the different modalities that I've learned from, can they fit together? Do they work together? How can they help strengthen each other? And so I wanted to share this part of my process as well. So in case you ever needed a touchstone, in case you ever do find yourself in a liminal space, you can see how I handle it. First thing I'm going to reach for is a mantra. That's the first thing I'm going to reach for. Now that varies depending on intuition, if there's a specific mantra that's running through my mind, or same thing with mudra or kundalini yoga meditations. Now, I do have four currently, three of which I've reached 500 days. One I'm in almost 500 days. My goal is 1,000 days. So I do have those as my foundation. One of them is Sodarshan Chakra Kriya. So these are my bedrock meditations. They're the ones I return to. Sat Kriya is another really good um, foundational meditation that I use or I return to. That one I did complete 1,000 days of. So I just kind of wanted to illuminate a little bit of what's going on with me in all of my readings with the integrations. And then also, you may notice that I'm returning to mantra focused or a specific set of Kundalini yoga meditations that I'm going to be returning to for the next little bit. And that's to offer myself grounding. So, just in case you are not a fan of repeating Kundalini yoga meditations, or if you don't want to chant the Adi Shakti mantra again, that type of thing, just know that you can keep checking back. And this is just part of the process for me where it's a return to foundation, right? It's a return to reminders of, okay, these mantras are excellent for grounding. I need to anchor within the mantra as all of this is integrating. I'm letting go of what needs to be released and what doesn't. Um, and then also just sharing the expansion. So, um, and then I did slightly want to touch on these two books have really had me reflecting on my foundation as within Buddhism as a lay Buddhist. I'm not a scholar, I'm not an expert, I'm not any specific lineage. I ran into a couple of issues with just some of what I was reading. It felt too constrictive, it felt too ritualistic, and there was misogyny. There's reports of monks perpetrating violence. Like there are certain aspects that I'm like, okay, that's unacceptable. That's not okay. What does still work is right speech, right action. So it also has me questioning those foundations as well. I'm learning more that the American version of Buddhism is a colonized version. It's not actually the roots necessarily. It had to be adapted for what others thought Americans could handle. So there's a lot of shifting, there's a lot of unraveling that's happening within this liminal space for me. Um, I do, like I said earlier, and I'm going to keep repeating, this is a normal, natural cycle within my own practice. So for me, this is not abnormal. Now, if you are noticing anything and you feel that you want to shout it out or share it, maybe something for me to keep in mind or something that you're noticing, please feel free to share that. That's perfectly welcome. Um, this is just part of the process. And I've read a few Reddit posts with people expressing sort of similar. I'm not disconnecting or disassociating. This is just a normal part of integration for me where I reach for the mantras, the mudras to help me anchor into the shifts that are happening. There were a couple of people talking about disassociation. That's more trauma informed, or could be, I should say, that could be more trauma informed. So these are all different aspects that I, again, feel are natural and healthy. Questioning your practice is important, it's vital. That's why I do the naked pauses. I want us to check in on our practice. That's important. So I feel like there was something else I was going to say. Oh, it was something else that Ronald Purser talks about is mindfulness being marketed and sold as a vehicle for personal gain and gratification. Now, no shame for those that are using mindfulness that way. I don't know that my particular way of meditation is mindfulness as the way that he's using it. Um, I'm just gonna reflect on it regardless because, questions to me are important. So I I want more for this space. This isn't just about personal gain and gratification. There's a depth here that I want to share, that I want to be available. And this particular live, I feel very vulnerable. Again, my apologies for repeating myself several times. That's part of my vulnerability, part of how I process. Um, this is this is about deeper inquiry. Oh, there's a kitty cat. Hold on one second. Yes, hello, ma'am. Don't scratch that table. Yes, hello, sweet girl. Do not scratch that table. You will be booted from the room. Um, what was I saying? Yes. So deeper, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. That is not for you to scratch. Thank you. Can we turn right around? Okay, sorry. Um, deeper inquiry. So the point being that I want the deeper questions to come up. I want the deeper grapplings to be available because that is ultimately where my practice is leading me to the systemic issues, to looking at the spaces that I don't really see a lot in meditation. So this isn't, I don't want this to stay at surface level. So when I bring those or when I share those different aspects, I do trust that everyone in the community is aware of their window of tolerance, that you are aware of your boundaries and that you will honor those, because that is just as important. So I did want to speak to that. That's going to remain the same. And if anything, we're going to deepen that. I'm going to be looking more into uh, the different aspects of being a woman and just what we carry. I want to see how meditation can help with that. I also want to look into how meditation can help us in other areas as well. I'm not quite ready to talk about that other one because I'm not even entirely positive how to yet. So, um, that being said, I did want to call that out. The depth is going to stay the same. I am going to continue to dig deeper and look into other aspects, how meditation can be applied to all the other areas that aren't necessarily common. Um, so, as always, feel free to shout out anything that you would like to see. If there's a specific topic, if there's, I don't know, different experiences, maybe you'd like a meditation to be applied in a different way, that type of thing. And of course, if you saw anything during the live that you'd like to shout out, feel free to share that as well, as long as you're comfortable. And then I wanted to call out a previous live. Sorry about the audio. I didn't realize that there was an issue until after the fact. So my apologies if the audio gets wonky at any time. Everything on my end looks normal. So, and I'm working with basic bare bones setup here. So, yeah, I will do my best to keep the audio issues to a minimum. Like I say, I'm not super trained in that, and it's bare bones that I'm working with. So, best we got. Um, if there's any other aspects from my notes while I was reading McMindfulness that I wanted to share, oh wait, hold on. Let me double check with the handbook. No, it wasn't anything specific to that. More just that the ethics that we're carrying is important, and that there is an underlying foundation of ethics for you as you practice. For me, it's grounded in Buddhism, again, as a lay Buddhist, not a scholar, not a um, not ordained. I'm not of any lineage. This is just my own practice, my own reading of, which I am now going back over, like I said earlier, because what was taught in the West was not of the original. So, right action, right speech is still holding true for my practice, still as a foundation. That's important. So, not offering harm, it's, healing suffering. That's still a foundational, that still holds true. So, I think that's it for this sharing. I did go longer than I had expected. Just wanted to shout this out. It's important. And hopefully it reminds others that your experience is far more common than you may be aware of. So hopefully this helps anyone that feels that maybe they're alone. You're not. So thank you so much for joining me in my liminal space. I'm glad you were here. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you next time.